Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Kris.
Great to be here, Fred.
It's great to have you on the show because you just entertain me to no end. We met.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, no, we met back at the ING conference in Utah, and we got to take a little shuttle bus ride together from the hotel to one of the golf courses, and it was so much fun. It was so interesting. I can't believe how much we got in just that 10-minute bus ride. And then you
did.
Yeah, and then you co-host another podcast called 18 Birdies, which it's called On Par by 18 Birdies.
The On Par podcast.
Right. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but I was a guest on your show with you and Josh, and we just had way too much fun. Probably more fun than's legal.
Well, that's the thing about podcasts. There's no formula. You just it takes you where you want to, wherever. It doesn't matter.
Right. And
no time limit.
To me,
theoretically,
there's no limits on geography or time, and that's probably my favorite parts about it because of I came from radio, and that was all about geography and time. I mean, with the radio station I worked out in San Francisco, it was an FM station, and we just had no signal anywhere. So, we never were able to reach our full potential. And then everything is matter of minutes and seconds, And here, when Bobby Clampett was on the show a couple weeks ago, I said, I know you're used to being on TV, but if I ask you a question, you can go on for as long as you'd like. I mean, you don't have to get it in within 9 to 18 seconds. And he's like, really? And so he gave me 10-minute answers. It was awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I had to cut it up.
Guy.
He was a very interesting man. And
nice man.
He gave me... He had this one comment that he made about the placement of your divot in relation to the ball and how that impacts your score. He says, for every inch behind the ball you are, that's 4 strokes. And I was like, okay, so I better go hit the ball differently. So anyway.
When I used to practice at Shady Oaks, Dave Eichelberger would come out and practice every now and then when he was in town. And he would leave these just perfect little rectangles where he was hitting balls. And he would just take just the tiniest bit of divot. And it was really something to see. I wish I would have taken a picture now.
It sounds amazing.
Something to aspire to.
So no, yeah, right, exactly. I mean, that's so many amateur golfers, and that's really we focus on here. But when I talk to them, when I'm playing with them, and I ask them, where should the bottom of your swing be in relationship to the ball? And everyone's like, when they figure out what that means, it's like something they've never even thought about before. But when they figure it out, they're like, yeah, right behind the ball. It's like, boom, that's the problem. Right?
Yeah.
It's got to be in front of the ball. Watch how these divots, these great divots these guys are putting out on the tour are way in front of the ball. And that's when they talk about hit down to make it go up. What? Right? Swing easy so it'll go farther. What? Yeah.
Oh, I had a great teacher, Raymond Gafford, when I was living in Fort Worth, actually. And he always said, we don't want to hit the ball further. We want to hit it better. And that's always stuck with me.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. I can see that. Okay. Anyway, hi. Welcome to the show.
Hi. It's great to be here.
So let's start talking about your professional golf career. And there's other topics I want to hit, but let's establish your career, who you are in the golf world, and what that means to us as far as amateur golf. Give me a little bit, and then I'll pick it apart.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me.
No, I don't need to do that. I read about it, but it's more interesting to hear your perspective.
So I
do you need to answer that? Is your phone ringing or is it mine?
Oh my God. It was. It's my dad.
Hi, Dad. Sorry, you're not invited on the podcast right now. Do you have to talk to him?
No, no,
Okay.
I'll call him back later. I called him the other day, though. I was playing in a pro-am, and very first green, it's a scramble. We missed the green. Oh, I'm sorry. And it was a driver 8 iron. We all missed the green.
Wow.
So we get to the back of the green, and I said to my guys, I said, my dad always said, can't chip in unless you're off the green. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. And we do it. We chip in. So
Awesome.
I had to call him.
Oh, that's great.
He loved it.
You can't chip it in unless you're off the green. All right, that's a quote. We'll
It's
we'll write that
famous,
one down.
famous last words. His other quote that I always remember was, "I may not always be right, but I never think I'm wrong."
Yeah, I have a friend. I was thinking of having a T-shirt made for him that says "Always right." No, wait. Sometimes right, always sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that.
And my favorite quote, actually, a golf quote, came from a listener which is, "Never follow a bad shot with a stupid shot."
I like that too.
Oh
That's
man,
good.
that has become a way of life for me. It's like, don't even, just because you can see the green through the trees doesn't mean
Yeah.
you're going to make it. And if you don't put your
So
ball
I
back in the fairway, you're going to double bogey, triple bogey at best, right? And if you just put it on the green, you'll bogey. Why are you trying to be a hero? Stop it.
Can I use that? I've been doing a
Please.
Tuesday tip on Facebook. Actually, I think I've got a friend who's kind of helping me get a little better with my social media. And so we've started this Tuesday tips thing. And that might be a good one for one of those Tuesdays where I don't have a whole bunch of time.
Yes, absolutely write it
That in the
down as
queue.
long as you give Golf Smarter credit for it. That's fine.
All right.
That's
All
fine.
right.
And Tuesday tips, why don't you just come back on the Golf Smarter podcast and give us the Tuesday tips? Because that's when we publish the show each week.
There you go. Well, I think I'm game. I'm game.
All right. I love it. All right. Let's talk about your playing career.
Okay.
So let's
So
start. You want to start in
I
college, or you want to start the first time I picked up
I
a
am
golf
going
club?
to I'm going to start when I was 10 years old.
Hmm.
As an afterthought, my parents decided to well, they were taking my older brother to the Junior World out in San Diego, and as an afterthought, they were like, "Oh, would you like to play? There's a 10 and under age group." And I said, "Sure." Okay, sounds like fun. And I finished second.
Wow.
And so I came home with the big trophy, and everyone was saying
And
congratulations.
your
And I
brother?
kind of liked that.
Wait.
Um, he
And your
didn't. He
brother?
didn't. He didn't play well that week.
And he hasn't.
My
And he hasn't talked to you
brother.
since.
No, actually, that's so funny. We never had sibling rivalry. We wanted to be partners. And I wanted to be his partner because he was really good. He was such a better player than I was. I mean, he was really good.
Awesome.
This is what I think about playing with my brother. We'd finish and I'd go, "What'd you shoot?" I'm thinking he's going to say 73, 74. What'd you shoot? 67. Really? I mean, it wasn't, he was a little bit wild, but had great imagination to
Hmm.
get it up and down. He hit it a long way. So the par fives just were pretty easy for him. Great player. He tried to play on tour and he just could never get through tour school, which, as we know, is difficult. But he had a lot of success. He played in Asia, he played in Canada. He's a great player.
Hmm. Okay, so you came back and you had the trophy.
Had the trophy. And I think that's what really kind of got me, interested. I really kind of liked that. And I always played growing up, and grew up in South Dakota. So I had a lot of success there, sort of the big fish in the small pond.
Okay.
And then I went to school at TCU.
Hmm.
And that was, that was sort of not a rude awakening, but, I was around a lot of really good players and enjoyed it. We had a lot of coaching changes at TCU, so our team didn't have a whole lot of success, but I just always knew that I would try it. I always said I'd qualify and do it for a few years and then start my real life. Who knew I wouldn't start my real life until this year? My first job out of college with 18 birdies.
Oh my gosh. Really? Oh, because you've been playing golf the
Yeah,
whole time. See, it's your first time you've
yeah.
had a job.
I was, I was talking to a friend of mine and she said, "So, gosh, Kris, when's the last time you had a paycheck?" And I went, "Never." She goes,
Wow.
"Well, congratulations on your first job out of college. Parents must be so proud."
I'm sure they were really proud way before that, too.
Well, what was funny is my dad over on the phone here. No, he's not on the phone. He really tried to talk me out of it. When I said I wanted to turn pro and play on tour, he tried to talk me out of it.
Wow.
He said, "Oh, are you sure? It's a hard job and it's, you're traveling. It's just, it's not a great life." And I was like, "No, I want to do it." And once he realized that I wasn't going to be deterred, he was very supportive.
And so even now he's like, okay, you made the right decision. This has been so much
Yeah,
fun.
oh
Yeah.
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 He caddied for me quite a bit my
Wow.
first few years on tour. Actually, probably my first 10 years on tour, he probably caddied anywhere from 3 to 7 tournaments a year.
Wow.
He would show up never for practice rounds, every now and then for the pro am, and then the tournament. One of the funny stories about him is one time he did caddy in the pro am, and on about the 17th hole, he pulls out $20 and he's getting the guys together in my group. And he's like, "Hey, I think we should all give the caddy $20." And they're looking at him, they're going, Doc, you are the caddy." He's like, "Oh, I know, but this guy's been doing all the work."
Oh,
And
that's
they're like,
so
"Okay,
cute.
that's great, but it's not your responsibility to tip the caddy."
That's a great story.
Isn't
It's
that
like, no,
funny?
you should tip me. I'm good.
Yeah.
All right. So you went on and you played college golf. Let's get to there.
Yeah. So I played college golf at TCU, and they were national champions the year before I got there. And
Wow.
then we, yeah, had a lot of coaching turnover, and so I actually had 5 coaches my years at TCU.
Wow.
So that was, just it was just it ended up being a lot of rebuilding, but I loved it. I'm pretty happy wherever I am. People ask me, "What's your favorite golf course?" And I go, "Whichever one I'm playing on that day."
I feel exactly the same. It's like, what's your favorite one? The last one? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
being out there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have
So,
courses that you hate?
um, there's some courses that I probably, yeah, I mean, I would say there's some that they don't fit my game or for whatever reason, but not, I mean, not too many, I would say.
Right.
For me, if the greens are good, that makes me happy.
Okay.
I want the greens to be somewhat, I like fast greens
Okay.
and somewhat smooth,
Yeah, I think that
but
that's the thing that people will complain about when they walk away from a course is not so much the rough, not so much the trees. If they're three putting a lot, it's a miserable day for them.
but that's not the greens fault.
Oh, I know, but it's easy to blame the greens because
I
they're
know. Well,
so
yeah.
hard to read. They're too fast. They're too slow. There's always an excuse.
Here's the thing I've noticed.
What's that?
Good putters, they putt well on even when the greens are bad. I mean, they really do. They figure out a way to get it in the hole and they roll it well. The better you roll it, the more putts you're going to make. So bad putters on bad greens, I think it accentuates the problem.
Well, okay. So then the question is, how do you become a good putter?
I think the best way to become a good putter is to simply learn to roll the ball end over end. I put a line on my ball and just like, in maybe an inch and a half long. And I stick it sort of under the ball, but on the line that I'm trying to hit it. So you know how some people set the ball down and they try to make it perfect? I think that's hard to do. And I'll do it sometimes on me, like a 10-foot or a 5-foot or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I put it underneath, and then I get that feedback. If I hit a good putt and it's rolling end over end and you don't see any wobble in that line, you've rolled it well. And if you can just learn how to do it, and there's really no one answer, it's sort of different for everyone. Like certainly hitting it in the middle of the or hitting it on the sweet spot of the club, and that all helps. But you just have to learn how to do it yourself, really.
Yeah. Any training aids that you've seen that you think could help?
Help with that.
Yeah. I know that there's that one aid that I've seen recently that just it's only about an inch or so wide, but it's open on either side and it rolls, and so you can really see if it's wobbling or if it's
Oh,
not.
yeah. Well, yeah, that could maybe help you do it, but I find some of those so hard to
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
sometimes, it becomes, you get negative feedback.
Yeah. Well, I've seen so
And,
many
and
training aids coming through here, and some of them it's like you use it once
sure.
and went, okay, that's too much effort, or it's not giving me enough of what I'm looking for.
Well, every aid works for someone, but not every aid works for everyone.
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, they're all made because they worked for someone.
For the guy who made it.
And well, yeah, and whoever. I mean, they're going to be good for some people, but every training aid is not good for everybody. It's just like I don't think that you can say there's one way to swing a golf club. And if there's a teacher who it's his way or the highway, I think that's he's not a good teacher. He or she is not a good teacher because people don't take into consideration people's just what's the word I'm looking for, their limitations.
Mm-hmm.
When my back is bad, I can't stay down through the ball for anything. And I always hear people be like, why don't I just stay down? Which, yeah, I've felt that way. But sometimes you physically can't do it, and your body knows when you can't do something. Your body knows when you're either gonna hurt yourself or there's gonna be pain. And here's my example. When my hips were bad, I would say to myself, like, I don't care if it hurts. I just need to I need to stay down through the ball or whatever it was. I'm not going to let the pain get me. But physically, I could not, even though I was not aware of pain. I was not aware of feeling pain, but my body wouldn't let me go in places. So the whole point to that long story was that people have to, they have to learn to swing the way that they can swing, and not everything is going to work for everybody.
Sure. I think that's part of what Bobby Clampett talked about is like your swing is your swing. I mean, there are interesting and unique swings all over the tour. It's all about having the club face square at contact and just getting it there.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's very true.
All right, now I'm gonna pick apart your tour time. So you played at TCU. You did well at TCU. You won some couple times. Yeah, you won some like Player of the Year type awards, type of things. Do I have to tell you about your
like all Southwest? Yeah, probably. I don't really remember. All Southwest Conference and whatever.
Oh well, that's good. Okay, then you went to the tour. You went pro. Dad's finally supported you, and you went pro. And
well, he supported me early. I mean, once he knew that I wanted it, he was very supportive.
Yeah. And how was life on the tour?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I lost my card my first year and had to go back to tour school, and that was harder than going to tour school the first time because I knew what I would be missing. And I just
Mm.
really loved it out there. And I got my clubs stolen the last tournament of the year. I was flying home and got my clubs stolen. And I had to go to tour school in 4 days
With clubs you don't have. Now you've got
with
to get
clubs. I
started.
and this was so I was at Dallas is where I was living, and I actually saw my clubs go around on the belt, and I was on the phone, and I was like, okay, I see my clubs, and then when I went to get them, they were gone.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's
Yeah.
terrible. Well, at least the time that I lost my clubs on a flight, the airline, the baggage attendant was accused of taking them, but they didn't do anything
Yeah, well,
about it.
well,
Wow. Was your name on your bag?
I don't think so.
Wow. Someone just picked up the wrong bag.
Well, it was, it was
The
big.
tour
It
bag.
was big.
Yeah.
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 So, but so that's how I ended up using Mr. Hogan's sandwich at tour school because the one club I had trouble getting my driver matched and then the sandwich I just couldn't quite get the sandwich that I liked, and my sandwich was made it was a replica of his,
Okay.
so he just gave me his sandwich to use for tour school.
Wow. Um, we have a lot to talk about Mr. Hogan. I love the way you call him Mr. Hogan. But I'm not going to get there yet. We are going to get there. You did have. I've talked to other tour players, and they're like, "Yeah, I only won once. I only won 4 times on the tour, and I played for 20 years." It's like, yeah, but you won on the tour. Does that not count?
Well, I mean, it's frustrating
Sure.
to, I so I won the mixed team with Billy Andrade in 1991, and then I won my first tournament in 1992. And I remember what's so funny is I remember feeling, while I was so excited, it was almost kind of like, well, it kind of felt like this is how it's supposed to happen.
Right.
I mean, I felt like I was going to win much more.
Sure. Sure.
And for whatever reason, I just didn't. And I mean, we look back and go, "Oh man, I wanted to win more."
Sure.
But you know what? I think that even if you won however many times you won, you still would always want to win more.
So when you win and you're thinking, yeah, this is where I belong, I should be able to win more. Do you, what happens in your head? Do you start thinking, oh, this is getting easier? This is an easy game, or I have
Oh,
to
I
work
don't think
harder? Where does that take you? Because I think about last year in Jordan Spieth and the tremendous success that he had. And then this year, the press is just berating him and to his face that he's not having such a great year. And yet he's like, no, feel like I'm doing well. I'm just not winning.
Yeah.
Where does that put you? I mean,
I totally agree with that philosophy that if you look at it, whoever's number one, when Tiger was number one, or when Tiger and Annika were both number one, and they were just dominating, I kept
dominating.
saying, this this is not going to last. Well, it lasted. I was wrong. It lasted a long time. But golf is hard to dominate.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's streaky.
Yep.
There's some stat that golfers make like 75% of their money in 10% of the tournaments.
Wow.
And it's usually in a streak of 3 or 4 weeks. They have that really good whatever 3 or 4 weeks where they make the bulk of their money, and it's I think very, very hard to just be consistent and just constantly play well. So there's a lot of just the getting the breaks that week or whatever. And yes, it probably all evens out in the end. But I think that's great that he's staying patient and he's saying, "Look, I'm playing great. I'm doing what I'm doing." And that was kind of how I felt like, yeah, this was how I was supposed to feel, and I won, and I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because I felt like I was on the right path. So I always struggled with my putter. And the week I won, I putted well. I didn't putt outstanding, but I putted well. And I would say that I had very few tournaments in my career where I didn't make some mistakes putting. I always seem to have a 3 putt or miss just that 2 or 3 footer. And it never felt like it was just from lack of focus or whatever. It was just for whatever reason, I was a bit of an inconsistent putter.
Well, it seems like even on the tour level, it's hard to get all elements of your game working on the same day. I mean,
Yeah,
if you
for
break it
sure.
down to like 4 elements, right? Off the tee, your iron play, short game, and putting, right? I guess
Yep.
you put those, and it's hard to make them all work on the same day. And when they do, it's a beautiful thing, and you don't want to talk about it while it's happening because you're afraid
Yeah.
it's going to disappear that quickly too.
Yeah.
And
I can remember feeling, just feeling like, oh my gosh, I've really got this. Just feeling so good about my game. And then when it goes the other way, you're going, I am never going to find it again.
Yeah.
You just, and the thing
Terrifying.
is, you just have to look at it rationally and just say, I felt that way. Now I'm feeling this way. I know it's going to be this way again.
Right.
But it's sometimes that's hard to remember.
Well, and golf is really, if you like a sport that has a lot of parity, then the golf is the ultimate in parity. It's so hard to dominate a sport. I think that teams that or people that can dominate are good for the sport because they get more people either loving or hating that team, that person, right? And they get
Yeah.
more interested in it. That dominating a sport is actually good for a sport. I know there's a lot of people who, like during the 50s in baseball when New York just, either the Giants, the Yankees, or the Dodgers were in the World Series every year, and they called that the golden age of baseball. And yet everywhere else in the country, they hated the 50s because their team never had a
Yeah.
chance. So
Yeah.
anyway, but you mentioned Annika, and you came in close second behind her on a major.
Well, I'm not sure I'll call it close second, but thank you. She actually walked away with the tournament. And I remember going out on Sunday and really feeling like we were playing for second place, unless she stumbled, which you just didn't expect Annika to do.
Sure.
But hey, you never know. So that was still in the back of your mind. But I remember really feeling like, all right, let's get second if
And
we, if she doesn't
how
stumble.
much did you get second by?
I think it was like 5 shots.
Oh, really?
When I finished, I think I was in the fourth to the last group. When I finished, it was a U.S. Open record, low 72 hole round.
For you?
So I had the
Or
record. Yeah,
you had the record,
she had
but
finished.
Annika crushed you. Wow.
Yeah, she finished 45 minutes later, and then she had the record.
So you held the record for 45 minutes. That's pretty awesome.
I held the low scoring round record for less than 24 hours at Colonial. I think it was like the low 18 hole score on Saturday or something like that. And then, no, it must have been the low 18 hole score because Beth Daniel broke it the next day.
Oh, man. I had my Akama is a very exclusive private course here in Northern California, and a neighbor of mine joined the club. He was one of the very first members that joined while they were still in construction. And he told the guy after taking the tour of the course, he says, "All right, I will join, but you have to let me be the very first person off the tee." And the guy's like, "Sure, we're happy to take your money, but why do you need to be the first guy off the tee?" He says, "Because I want to hold the course record."
That's funny. I love it. He's like, and I'm going to be playing by myself.
Exactly. Oh, he loved the
I,
competition.
I do. I do still hold one record,
What's that?
and it is low 9-hole score in the British Open.
Really?
Yeah.
The women's on the LPGA side.
Yes. Yes.
And tell me more about that.
Yes, it's an interesting story.
Please. Awesome.
Low 9-hole score, and I played. I think. Well, I can't even remember, but my front nine, I shot 40, which was 5 over.
Uh-oh.
And I shot 29, which was 8 under on the back
Oh,
side.
man. A
So on a
29?
day that I shot 69, I shot 8 under on one nine.
Wow. Did you have eagles or was it like a par and
I
eight
had
birdies?
I had 2 eagles.
Par
I made
fives?
a I made a yep, I made a 5-footer for an eagle on one par 5, and then I chipped in on the last hole, and I had no idea that I had done it. So the backstory was that my husband at the time was caddying for me, and on the ninth hole, he wanted me to hit an 8 iron and I wanted to hit a 9. And we sort of went back and forth. And normally I'm pretty good about, just being like, saying, this is what I'm going to do and doing it. But whatever, I was 4 over, or no, I was 5 over par at the time. And I just said, fine. So I hit the 8 iron, it one hopped over the green, and I was hot. I ended up getting it up and down for par, but I shot 40. I shot 5 over. So we go to the back nine, and I am like, I'm done. I'm not going to say one word to him. And I didn't. I just played, and I was just fuming. And I end up chipping in on the last hole to shoot 8 under, and he's standing there just shaking his head, and he's like, oh, you just drive me crazy. Do you know what you shot? And I said, no. And at the time he was thinking that it was 28 because the 9-hole scores. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, you just shot 8 under.
Wow.
And I knew I was playing well, but I just, you just kind of get it going and you don't really think about
But you were
it.
playing it with anger, which is, you're supposed to keep your emotions in check. I guess you were angry at it was directed away from golf.
I was, I was angry. I was angry partly because I was mad at myself for, just letting him talk me into something that I knew wasn't right, which was stupid. But yeah, it wasn't like, I don't think people could see that I was upset. I was just like, I'm not going to talk to him about anything right now. And he was my teacher. So, that was just one of those things where it's hard, it's hard to spend a lot of time with the person, you're married to, they're caddying, and
your
he was my
coach, sure.
teacher. So, but we usually did pretty well together. He was, he was well, first of all, he's a great teacher. I mean, he's a fantastic teacher. And he was a great caddy when I was playing well. And I think that was part of my frustration is he wasn't a very good caddy when I wasn't playing well. And that would frustrate me at times because I knew even though I wasn't, winning or, up in the top, I knew that every stroke meant, money on Sunday night. And so I would get frustrated when I would see him sometimes get negative when things weren't going well. That's probably my number one thing that I want in my caddies is I want them to always stay positive.
And do you play with a regular caddy, or do you have to use a different caddy every time you're playing?
I have a regular caddy who's retired from the LPGA as well, but he'll come out and caddy for a couple of Legends events every year. So I think he'll probably caddy in 3 or 4
Oh, wow.
events this year. Yeah,
How
four
many
events
events are you
this year.
playing each year now?
It depends. This year I think we only have like 8 events on the Legends Tour this year, but the year before we had 10. So it kind of goes up and
Okay.
down.
All right. And how long have you been playing on the Legends Tour? And that's what it's. That's the
That's kind of a
female
personal
equivalent of
question.
the Legends is the Champions Tour for the men. Okay.
Is the Champions Tour, yes. Our age limit is 45. So I've been playing my first, and you can play the year you turn 45. And my birthday is December
Oh, wow.
30th. So the year that I turned 45, I was 44 most of the year. I was still playing on the LPGA then, so I think I only played in one
I see.
event that year.
I see.
So, but it's great. I mean, I don't practice nearly as much as I used to, obviously. And probably, at this age you shouldn't. It's can be hard on your body to have to, be out there and hit so many balls. I do wish I could practice a little bit more, but
Life gets in the way too.
okay, you're just going to start laughing here in a minute.
Oh, a cat just arrived in front of the screen. What was that? It's a cat's tail. Okay.
It's a cat. I know, it's so funny. And I don't know if you know this about cats, but it's not like you can
Right,
tell
exactly.
them no.
But is the cat going to turn off your computer?
There's
You told me that the cat turned off your computer earlier. I hope while we're not
this one
talking.
won't. That was a
Oh, you're
different
one of
cat.
those people with you're a cat lady person. Okay.
Draw the line at
Yeah,
2. I
right.
draw the line at 2.
Until you're completely retired, and then
That
there's 12 more.
yeah, scare me. I have always been a dog person, but I'll tell you what, I brought the first cat home for my 8-year-old and when she was 8, and I couldn't believe how much I
Really?
liked him. We actually went to the pound to get a dog, and we came
Oh
home with
my!
another cat.
It's not going to happen in my house.
But we did finally
Hello, kitty.
get a dog.
Hey, kitty.
Yeah,
I can
hi,
see the
kitty.
kitty.
This is Peanut. When we got her, I don't. You can't. Yeah, see, there's no talking to him.
You can't say, "Give me a kiss, kitty."
If she wants to meet you,
Okay.
she
Well,
will.
she doesn't want to. She can't smell me, so she
But
doesn't care.
can you hear that? Now she's rubbing her face on the microphone.
Knock it off, kitty. All right, let's get to part two
Yeah.
of this conversation. Maybe we'll have 3 parts.
Can we say
Yes.
say ADD?
Yeah, squirrel. Okay, so
Yeah.
right. I want to hold up in front of the screen here your book, which is just this adorable little book, but it's a great read called Mr. Hogan, The Man I Knew. An LPGA player looks back on an amazing friendship and lessons she learned from golf's greatest legend. Wow. This has got to be more than just a golf story.
It is. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It is a story. It's really more of a memoir than it is. I don't know what people think if they pick up the book and they think they're going to learn something. I think they might learn
Okay, so tell
some
me Hogan's
things,
secret.
but it really is more of a memoir.
Come on, you've been with him, you talked to him, you've got to know his secret, right? Everybody know. Every teacher
Well,
always says, "I know the secret to Ben Hogan." Yeah, right.
yeah. And I said that I think that was all it was just hype where he said, "Oh, I've got this article I want to write." And then everybody thought, "Oh, he's got, there's a secret."
No secret.
I don't
You knew him. So
think
tell
so.
me how you knew him, how that and what your relationship was with him.
So my brother and I were going to school at TCU,
Is
and
Dad
he
calling back
heard that
again?
they were.
I just
Oh,
I can
you can
feel
hear
it.
that. It's
I
so
can
funny.
feel it vibrating.
I think because I've got the
Oh,
headphones
all
on.
right. Well, put it on the floor so it
Uh,
doesn't shake the table.
yeah,
Sorry.
so it doesn't keep bothering you.
Okay. So
Um,
tell me about your relationship with Mr. Hogan.
so we became members at Shady Oaks, and everybody told us, you leave Mr. Hogan alone. You don't talk to him. If he wants to talk to you, he will, but you do not talk to him. And so at first, that's what I did. But I would see other members walk by, and I'd, hi, 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 and then I'd see him, and I'd act like
How
I
old were
didn't
you at
see
this
him.
point?
And finally, I was
Okay.
18. I was, just a freshman in
Okay.
college. And and then I thought, I'm just going to be myself because this is not me. And so I would see him and I'd wave or say hello, and then he just started stopping, and he would maybe give me a little tip here or there, and I can remember like the first time he stopped by and he gave me a tip, and I called home that night. I'm like, oh my gosh, Mr. Hogan stopped me, talk to me, and I was so excited about it, and but then it would happen, and then it just kind of started. I just started to get it to know him better and better, and became more and more comfortable. Like then another time he stopped and he was trying to get me to do something, and I kept saying, well, let me see you do it. No, no, I don't hit anymore. Oh, come on, let me just see. And finally he drops these three balls and he hits them, and I'm calling home. I saw Mr.
Oh
Hogan
my
hit three balls
gosh.
today. But then it got to the point where he started getting his clubs on the cart and getting his shag bag, and coming out, and he started hitting balls again, which was really really neat. And I would maybe just drive over to where he was hitting, and I would watch him a little bit, and then he would come to where I was hitting, and he would watch me hit, and then he would put his balls down and he'd hit. We'd go pick them up and go do it again. And most of the time he would only hit maybe one or two shag bags. And he was just always a tinkerer. He would have me try things. And I think more than anything, I learned just about managing my game and practicing different shots, and how to play golf.
Wow. The first time that he stopped to talk to you while you were hitting balls, did you feel his eyes burning? I mean, like, playing in front of thousands of people is one thing, but playing in front of Ben Hogan has got to be a completely different kind of pressure.
Yeah, I think that by the time that had happened, I'd gotten fairly comfortable with him. Yes, okay, it's the first time I'm going to hit a shot in front of him. But I think also I really didn't realize how much of a legend he
Oh.
was. I wasn't as scared as I should have been.
And there's great photos of you. It really, it's not a tough book to read, and it's a great book to read. And it's still available on Amazon, right? Yeah.
Yep. And you can also get it on my website if you want it
Wow.
personalized.
Great gift.
Yeah, you can just that's
That's a
there
great
you
gift.
go. Well, I know when it first came out, people were saying, "Oh, I want to send my book to you and then have you send it back." And I just thought that just sounds so hard. So I put it on my website so that it would be a little easier.
Oh, that is great. And there's some great quotes on the back just talking about it's you're not going to learn how to play golf from this, but you're going to hear a story that of a person that you think you know and you don't. And it's just really phenomenal.
Yeah, I was lucky that he let me get to
Yeah,
know him.
absolutely.
He let me get to know this side of him that he just didn't really let many people see.
How much had to do with the fact that you're a woman?
I think a lot, actually. I think, although he really loved my brothers too. He he really took all of us under his
Mm.
wing. And for whatever reason, I think the fact that I'm outgoing and I loved golf. So my brother Mike loved golf, but he
Mhm.
wasn't outgoing. And my brother Eric is outgoing, but he didn't love golf. I take that back. He loved playing golf, but he didn't love
Mm.
practicing. So I had that one combination that really clicked with Mr. Hogan. And but he loved it. He loved when Eric would come out, because every now and then Eric would come out, and Mr. Hogan would call that the sideshow. He'd say, "Is the sideshow going to happen today?" And that man is Eric coming out, because Eric was just he's so funny, and he was a talker, and they would be laughing and joking, and it just brought it to a whole new level. And when he was with just me and Mr. Hogan, there was still a lot of talking going on, because I'm a talker. I didn't hear until years later the stories about Mr. Hogan, practicing and having, someone might stand there 10 feet from him watching, and he would never say a word to him. Now, me, if somebody's standing there 10 feet, I'm like, hey, what'd you think of that one? How'd that one look? You know? And it was constant. I would hit a shot and I would say something, or he would hit a shot and I'd say
Ooh.
something
Oh,
the a whole time. And I had no idea that
that's against protocol.
was probably the first time in his life that had happened
Wow.
to him. He kept coming
Okay.
back.
And so you're not going to let it go. When did you
Yeah,
realize? At what
one
point in your
one
life did you realize? Oh my God, I got to spend a lot of time with Ben Hogan.
probably when I started
Oh,
writing the
okay.
book. Well, so here's a funny story. I didn't really tell many people about it, because people didn't believe me. I mean, I would lose credibility if I said something, because they just didn't believe that it really was possible. You hear all these stories about him. And so when I was writing the book, one of my caddies, who I was really good friends with, I said, "Hey, I want to send you these chapters, and will you read them for me and tell me what you think?" And he's like, "Sure." So I send him the book, or the chapters, and then I hear he calls me back, and he says, "Cheddar, I had no idea that you knew him this well." I said, "Brooksy, what did you think I was writing, the book about if I didn't know him?" He's like, "Well, to be honest with you, I was really wondering how you could have enough material for a book."
Oh,
He goes, "I walked the fairways with you for 3 years. I had no idea."
that's so cool. What a great story.
So
What a great story. Well, highly recommend it. Definitely. And get it on her. It's Kris uh,
just
Chet, and
krischetter.com.
but Cheddar is Tschetter, and I will have links in our show notes, so you can go right to the book, go right to her website, order the book, and she can personalize it if you want that, or just get it on Amazon. Either way is fine. All right, let's move on now. Let's talk a little bit about 18 Birdies, your first paycheck out of college.
My first job out of college.
Tell me about 18 Birdies is an app that incorporates
It
many
is.
things for the recreational golfer.
Well, yes. I mean, for any
Okay.
golfer, really, it's a mobile app, and you can keep your score, you can keep track of your bets, which I love. You can keep your stats. We've got a tournament platform now, and the GPS is fantastic. I mean, when I open that GPS up and I show it to people, and then I show them, I don't think people realize how you can actually move the cursor around, and you can get yardages, to bunkers and over bunkers and through fairways. That's the thing. For good golfers, a lot of times you got to pick the right line so that don't go through the fairway. I can't wait to use it actually this week at French Lick, because this course is one of those where if you bite off too much, you don't carry the fairway, and if you don't bite off enough, you'll go through. And so 18 birdies is going to be
Is it legal
awesome
for you to use
there.
that?
Oh, well, I'll use it
Oh,
in the
okay, okay.
practice round, and no, probably wouldn't be able to use it in the
So
tournament.
when I'm playing, I have a GPS that's also a rangefinder. I don't know why Bushnell didn't push this harder. I think it's like the best product that I've ever seen. I even bought it on eBay. It's a rangefinder that I can look at the flag and tell me exactly
Uh-huh.
how far the flag is. But it also gives me a readout of front, middle, back of the green. So
Oh,
it's
yeah,
really
that's
helpful.
nice. But like with a rangefinder, you can't get that off the
Right,
tee. You can sort of shoot a bunker, but you're not really
right,
100% sure.
exactly.
So that's the difference, I think, with the
Well, also with the rangefinder,
GPS.
if you're on, and I live in Northern California where we have, very rare are we playing on level ground. So you can't see the flag; it's hidden, it's up above, too high. You just can't get a read of what it is. And what I liked about 18 birdies is the GPS that it brings up. You can just put your finger on the screen. You get an overview of the hole from a satellite
Yeah.
view, so it's not like an animation or anything. And you can put your finger down anywhere on your screen, and it'll tell you how far that shot is, which is really important. That's to me is one
Yeah.
of the more like how far do I need to go from here to there. But also it gives you the line and tells you where you can land. There's just a lot of things about using the GPS on 18 birdies, the satellite view, that is so helpful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there's
I
so
love
many
it.
more things about 18 birdies that's really cool, like the social aspect of it.
Yep. And yeah, we've got a great feed. And that's really, when I started working for 18 Birdies in January, the thing that I really, really liked about everyone there is that they want to make this the best. And, we certainly, it's not even close to where it's going to be, and it's already really great. But they want to listen to what people have to say, and they want to fix problems and make it as good as it can be. And right now that's one of the things we're really working on, the feed, where you can interact with people and get lots of golf news and interesting golf, golf
Mm-hmm.
everything. So it's getting better and better, and it's really exciting. I think that I'm doing something that I would have done had I not played, golf for 24 years on tour.
Who found who? How
So
did you get
it's
together with them?
I actually got a call from a friend who is a job recruiter, and she said this tech company is looking for someone who's played golf at a high level and is looking for, it's a full-time job. I was like, I'll
Sure.
talk to him. So
And is it a
yeah,
full-time
and
job or is
and
it
I
just like a PR job? You just go out
yeah,
and shake hands and say hi.
it's sort of in between. I mean, it is a full-time job. I do a lot of phone calls, and I sort of work across the board, giving sort of the golf perspective, but I'm leaning towards like the marketing and the advertising, and that's what I mean when I said, if I hadn't played golf, I probably would have gone into marketing, advertising, and the beauty is that they part of the deal was they wanted me to keep playing because I love playing. And a real full-time job, I probably wouldn't be able to go off and play legends
Sure.
events every so often. So that's part of it. I'm director of community relations, so I sort of bring people together, and of course my friends are all, they just think that's so funny because I that seems to be what I'm good at, is connecting people. Like, somebody will say, "Hey, do you know so?" "Oh, yeah. Oh, I've got someone for you to talk to." And if I don't know the person directly, I probably will figure out a way to get them, somebody in between to get them together. So
Perfect. And I got to say, from what I saw out at the ING conference in Utah, 18 Birdies has got to have the best swag I have ever seen from any company. And I mean, I'm talking about big golf companies that spend a tremendous amount on their promotional products. But you guys have the coolest stuff.
thank you.
And when
Yeah.
you're playing in these events,
We
are you
like,
just wearing 18 Birdies swag? Are you just sporting it all? And
oh,
carrying a
yeah.
bag with you
Yeah.
to hand out to people all kinds of good stuff?
I probably should do that. I'm not, but I should. I mean, it's not like my caddy has to carry that bag
Exactly. And
anymore.
you're in a cart probably. You can just, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
give me a list of your favorite swag from 18 Birdies and how can we get some of it?
I really am partial to the bottle opener that's disguised as a divot tool.
Okay, so you like to gamble and you like to drink on the golf course. We've learned two things that you won't even tell us, but we've read between the lines here.
Yeah, just figuring it out. And I love our
Hmm.
hat that have the different lines on it. Like this is how I roll. I really like that
Okay.
hat.
And you've got a good new ad campaign going right now too. You got some great videos. It's about what the
Yeah,
Marshalls. Is that what it is?
the Marshall. Yeah, we are. The idea was to have this character who, the Marshall, where everyone's like, oh no, but our Marshall is fun and a little bit irreverent.
Cool. All right, you got to go to check that out. I guess it's on YouTube. 18 Birdies. 8,
Yeah.
and then is it a space and then the word birdies? No space.
No, no
18
space, just
Birdies.
1-8-E. Yep. Yep. And our website is
But most
18birdies.com.
importantly, it's an app. It's an iPhone and Android, or just
And
yeah. So you can just
Android.
go to the App
Yep.
Store and you can find 18 Birdies,
And
and
it's
it's free.
free.
That's cool. That's cool. And
Yeah.
you guys have a podcast.
And we do. Yes. The On
I
Par
had so much
podcast.
fun with you and Josh on that. That was just crazy. I mean, because I'm generally one asking questions, and when someone wanted to ask me questions, oh boy, you got an hour?
Yeah, no, that was lots of fun. We'll have to
Oh
do it
yeah,
again.
and you're gonna have to come back here too.
There's no, yeah,
All right, what's
absolutely.
your? We're gonna wrap this up with your favorite golf tip for amateurs when you're out there playing these pro-am events. I'm sure you don't go, can I give you one tip? But in your head, you've got many tips that you'd like to share with amateurs. What's your favorite?
Oh, well, it really depends, but I find that just getting people to focus on balance, even if it's just focus on balance in your finish. So if you start here and you're thinking about balance in your finish, usually that will smooth out people's swings.
And results with how does that? I mean, what
With
happens with good balance?
just better shots, better contact.
Awesome.
But just like any swing tip, it's good for some people, but it's not going to work for everyone. That's just golf. It's everyone's individual. You gotta,
That makes sense.
kind of find what works for you. And that was another thing that Mr. Hogan taught me. It was always try this, try that. If it doesn't work, throw it
Oh
away.
wow.
We'll try something
So that
else
means when we
tomorrow.
step up to the ball, we don't have to try to remember every single tip we've ever heard
No, you should really keep it to
per
one.
round or per shot.
Well, I would go with one per round, but one per shot, one swing thought per shot is, if you feel the need to change it, you can. Well, and I'll give you
Please.
one more thing. A lot of times people say, they'll hit their shot and they'll go, "Oh, I did this or I did that," and I always try to get them to focus rather than on what they did there. Just keep focusing on what you're trying to do. Because they're working on something and then they go, "Oh, I stood up," and I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry about that. Just focus on your swing thought, what you're trying to do.
Well, Annika's coaches, I don't know how much they were the coaches, but Lynn Marriott and Pia Nilsson, they were on the show many years ago, and she talked about the thought box and the shot box, which I absolutely love, which is step behind the ball, look down your line, and think about all the things that you want to do, visualize it, and then block it out of your head, step up to the ball and hit it, which I always thought was really awesome.
There's a great story about Nancy Lopez when Ray Knight was caddying for her one time. She came into the locker room and she's like, and she says, I'm getting up to the ball, and he's going, now you've got a downhill lie, and the wind's a little bit behind you, and it's an uphill shot. And she goes, I've already thought about all that stuff. I've already factored that in, and he's still talking to me when I get up to the ball.
Oh my gosh. So you never should have a third baseman as your caddy when you're on the tour, right?
There. Yeah, that's the moral of the story.
Especially if it's your husband.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Kris. Well, again, the book is called Mr. Hogan, the Man I Knew by Kris Tschetter, and it's KrisTschetter and KrisTschetter.com. What a fun conversation this was, Kris. I really look forward to having you back on the show and talking more about 18 Birdies if we get the chance.
You bet. Thank you very much for having me. It's always fun.
Click on the link below to subscribe to our free weekly interviews on the Golf Smarter podcast at golfsmarter.com.